I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this is Outside My Window. In August, the inaugural Atlantic Canada BBQ Championship was held. This was the first Kansas City Barbecue Society sanctioned event in Atlantic Canada. Now, this event hosted some top barbecue teams from Ontario and the Maritimes, facing off against each other in 4 main categories: chicken, pork ribs, pork shoulder, and beef brisket. We recently had the Rib Fest here too, but this is not a Rib Fest. This event was judged by KCBS certified judges to determine the grand champion.
One thing about barbecue, Gary, I mean, other than the fact that I like to eat it, is that I do like to cook it, but not to the extent of competition barbecue.
Yeah.
And, you know, they tried to get this off the ground, as we know. We've talked to Philip a couple of times, and they tried to get this off the ground a couple of years back and so on. But the grand champion of this event would therefore gain access to a couple of the world-class and international events like the famous Jack Daniel's World Championship and the American Royal. We had, I believe, 11 teams show up this time around for this event, and I think the goal is for 15, I think, next year in order to keep their status. But back in May, they held a cooking class, and the idea of doing the cooking class ahead of the actual competition was to give people some hints and some techniques they could then practice with and then apply to their competition layout when they did the competition in August. So that was the whole concept of that. And of course, one of the big things in doing this was to train up some local folks to be judges. Now, like you said in the intro, this is a sanctioned event. So, you know, the judges aren't just celebrity judges. These are people that are trained and certified. And if these folks traveled, they could be judges at sanctioned events anywhere in the world.
The class was put on by Jim Johnson, 78-time grand champion and known as the King of the Barbecue, and his forte is the science of barbecue.
Hi, I'm Jim Johnson. I'm a member of the Kansas City Barbecue Society, and I am here in Nova Scotia doing a barbecue boot camp, or what we call a barbecue training school. So we're doing that today. We've got all the people that have come in. We've got about 30 members showing up today. Large class. Everybody brought their cookers. We're giving them tips and tricks, and we're teaching them how to cook American style competition barbecue. What we do is we take any beginner that has a Weber grill in their backyard, and we will bring them in and we will teach them how to do competition style barbecue. So we're going to give you all the tips, the tricks, and the knowledge you need to be able to go from a backyard cooker to a competitor cooker within 2 days. What I'm hoping for is that people, when they leave here, they're going to have a better sense of spice, a better sense of smoke, a better ability to maintain fire, a better ability to cook product at home for their own families. Those are the things that we're hoping they take away, because what's going to happen is we're very, very fortunate because we have a barbecue person here that did very well at Memphis in May that is behind all this. So Philip has brought us in together, and he's brought us together to teach these people so that they can do a better barbecue. So they're going to be, not only when they leave here, they're going to be better than they ever thought they were. And as I tell people, they're going to be better than their neighbor. I take the time to show them tips and tricks, but I also explain the science behind what we're doing so that they understand. I don't just say, okay, we're going to use this sauce for a reason. We're going to use this sauce because this is why, and I want you to see the difference. So we're going to show them different ways of doing it so that they can actually taste it one-on-one, see it one-on-one, and see it firsthand so that they know at the end of the day, Jim was right. What he's showing us, what he's teaching us is exactly the way we need to do it. I dispel a lot of rumors that you see on YouTube, because everything you see on YouTube is not necessarily true, folks. And so what I want you to do is I don't just come in and talk about it, and I don't talk about the things on YouTube that I don't believe in. It's I show them. And I say, okay, let's do it this way, let's do it this way. You be the judge. At the end of the day, they're going to be able to be the ones that judge this. 2 different types of way we cook. We cook for our family in our backyard, and we cook for competition. So the rib that I would cook at home for my family is going to be one that's going to be tender, fall off the bone, do all that. If I cook that for a competition style, these are trained judges we're cooking for. I would actually have the worst score possible because they would give me a terrible score because it was too tender and it fell off the bone. We love that at home. We love that as individuals. But as a competition cook and as cooking for certified judges, these judges are certified now. And so what happens is when we do that, then we have to cook to a certain criteria. The harder the wood, the stronger the smoke. So if I'm doing big pieces of meat, I'm going to use a harsher smoke or stronger smoke to be able to penetrate the bigger pieces of meat. If I'm going to do ribs or chicken, I want a milder smoke. So the softer the wood, the milder the smoke. So what I'm going to do at that point in time is I'm going to use a milder smoke, which means I'm going to use a soft wood, and that's like a fruit wood, apple, peach, cherry. Now if I want the hardwood, I'm going to use oak, hickory, pecan. So I'm going to have that harsher smoke. So I have to know the balance, and I have to know how much smoke, how long to smoke it for, because we have a tendency to smoke the entire time. Meat only absorbs smoke for a certain period of time, and then after that it becomes a rancid flavor. So we can over smoke a piece of meat, and then we have an issue with it and everything. So we have to be very, very careful with that. I have traveled to over 40 different countries teaching people how to cook American style competition barbecue. But by doing so, what I've been able to do is I know a little bit about every cooker out there. So I'm not tied in with any individual cooker that I just say, oh, okay, I can only cook on this or whatever. I can cook on any of the pieces of equipment. So when they come in, I'm actually teaching them how to cook on their equipment. The beauty of it is they can go to a local hardware store, local grill store. We have some grill stores in the area here, so it's really, really nice because they can go there and get their barbecue supplies. They can get their pellet. They can get their charcoal. They can buy the grills. They can buy the sauces and the rubs that we're using now. So they get access to that. They can taste that now, and then they can go in and say, oh, I love this, so I'm going to try this, or I'm going to increase what I do. Now they're motivated because now they're going to go to a website that they trust, and they're going to pick out a recipe that they trust. They're going to pick out different flavors, and then they're going to start doing some of the cooking and everything based upon what they learned in this class. Right now, competition barbecue is not strong in this region, but I can see it start to grow. As the time goes, they're going to develop a contest. Later this year, they're going to have a certified judging class. Later this year, they're going to do a barbecue contest. And these guys that are in this class today are going to go home and have time to practice. They're going to mentor their neighbors, their friends, their nephews, their cousins, their in-laws, their outlaws, whatever the case might be. And they're going to have a blast with this and everything. And they're going to be able to teach them because they learned the science behind all this. And it's not necessarily something they learned off YouTube. One of the things that I surprised the class with was I'd bring some of my recipes and I say, okay, you guys, you're showing me what you do. I'm going to show you what I do. So we'll take a sweet onion or a yellow onion. We will peel the onion. We'll cut the top and the bottom off. We will peel it. And then I will take a small knife and I hollow out the inside so it's a little miniature volcano inside. And then what we'll do is we'll put a beef bouillon cube in there, a teaspoon of minced garlic, a pat of butter, and Worcestershire sauce. And then we'll fill it up. And then what we do is we lay down bacon pieces, crisscross them. We take 5 pieces, put the onion down in the bacon, and then we fold the bacon over the top of the onion. We take it directly out to a grill. We put it on a grill, whether it's a gas grill, charcoal grill, or if you don't have a grill, you can put it on a cookie sheet and do it in the oven. And we're going to cook it until the bacon gets done and the onion gets soft and squishy. When it is, we take the entire bacon, or the onion wrapped in bacon, and we put it in a blender and 1 block of cream cheese. We put the cream cheese in it, we process it, you pour it out and you serve it hot. It's the best onion dip that you're going to ever taste. Like I always tell people, I can't teach you to be a championship pit master overnight, but before the end of this class, I'm going to teach you to be better than your neighbor.
So then fast forward to August, where the actual competition weekend is broken into 2 parts. First up, there's a judging course to help certify folks to be KCBS judges. Now, this was not a fluff event. These folks come out of this course as certified KCBS judges. and could judge at any sanctioned event in the world. So how does that work, Quinn?
Well, the idea is that they're looking for very specific things, and the scoring system is weighted. You can score poorly on one end, but still end up with an award-winning thing. So you don't get docked totally just because one piece is out of whack. But like I said, before, these folks are going to come out of this actually certified as judges. They get a badge, they get registered in a database, and they can go anywhere.
Now, it was a bit self-serving so that the competition would have judges for the whole weekend. There were over 20 people in the course, and some of them were competing that weekend as they wanted a preview of what the judges would be looking for. Gives them that bit of insight, right?
Yeah, no, and it makes sense too. If you know what the judges are looking for, and again, one of the key things in the judging course was you want consistency. Everybody's looking for the same things. Everybody's judging based on the same level profile, right? And but your interpretation of taste versus somebody else's interpretation of taste is going to be different. But you're not judging what you like. I like a lot of sauce, or I don't, or I like a sweet sauce, or I don't like heat, or I do. That's not relevant. What's relevant is that they've got criteria that you're supposed to follow against. So having the competitors take the course allows them to understand a little bit more about what the judges are going to be looking for, and then they can cater their cook accordingly.
Now, as Jim Johnson said, you're not cooking for family and friends.
That's right.
It's a competition. It's serious stuff, like we said. Now, we've spoken to Philip Godet prior to this episode as one of the organizers, but Philip wanted to compete, so he had to resign from the organizing committee, right, to do that and avoid a conflict, and formed his team. Cook the books. I like that, because he's an accountant.
He's an
right?
accountant, that's right.
That's very good. We had a chance to quickly chat with him on competition day.
Around here, there's been a lot of rib contests, backyard competitions over the years, but nobody's really done the brisket challenge or pork shoulder. So, that's why last year we had a backyard competition, and it's just, again, to get people going so that, this year it's a pro event, and, we want to make sure that the teams are ready for it. So the advantage of taking the judging course as a competitor is you'll be able to know what to put in the box, what the judges are looking for, what the criteria is. Make sure you don't put anything illegal in the box and get disqualified. So I think there's a lot of advantages of taking the course ahead of time. So I went back to Memphis this year, first time since 2019. I helped with the boys from Ontario that came down for this contest, and we had an amazing time. I finished 21st in brisket, almost had a perfect score. I was .16 out of 423 points, and I finished 21st. That's how tight it is out there. And then we finished 5th in Old Hog, so we got to walk the stage at the World BBQ Championship. So that's always an amazing feeling. I can't wait to go back. So we got teams from Truro, Halifax, Ontario, the Valley, and a lot of local teams. So far, everybody's having a great time. I talked to one team there that probably doesn't have a whole lot of experience, and they said, I think he drove down from Halifax, and he says, we came last year, we had so much fun, it's going to be an annual event for us as well, So the winner will qualify for the American Royal in Kansas City, which is the largest competition in the world. It's a 2-day event there. One day you have to qualify, the other day it's open to any team. And the open division, there's about 500 teams that compete at that. It's in a NASCAR stadium. So the winner will qualify for that, and they'll also get their name put in the hat, basically, for the Jack Daniel's Invitational, which is like the masters of barbecue.
Tom Jubis hails from the city, but is originally from Meteghan, and also took the judging course, by the way.
Team name is All Sauced Up. Well, I didn't really know in the past how things were judged, and I thought there was a lot more on visual and presentation, but the tenderness, taste, appearance, those three are, are the real important ones. Well, first off, this is the first time that I've competed in a 4-item event. All the previous ones was strictly ribs. So, a little easier to keep tabs on what's going on, but certainly challenging and a lot of fun. Charcoal is my go-to. I have more experience at it, so but I like the fact I'm able to get a lot of smoke. I can control the smoke, and for the most part can control the heat pretty good as well. At the end of the day, that we place in a position and that we're not rock bottom.
Albert Gaudette, with his group, the A-Team, told us up front what barbecue means to him.
Meeting new people and having fun. Well, I was sponsored by Ralph D'Entremont Speedy Glass out of Yarmouth. We had that cooking class in May or April or May, and you learn something there, and then you learn something here. So it's still a learning curve, and then you see what other guys are doing, and you go, oh, I didn't realize, yeah, that's a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, so just the camaraderie of meeting people, you learn from them as well. Well, I kind of learned a few things, the judging is based solely on meat, not so much garnish. You have to look for foreign objects, that you might have a piece of tin foil that you didn't see in your meat. You get a disqualification for that one. If only one judge sees it, then it's a one-judge disqualification. But if everybody sees it, then you're disqualified. So that really brings your chance to nil, to win anything. It takes a lot to organize. You need a committee. You need the time. It costs a little bit to go to the meetings. Just getting ready, doing all kinds of stuff. You have to have a committed membership to do that. So, we're trying to bring something to this side of the province that the province could be proud of, So if you can grow it, like we have a team from Ontario, Rusty Smoke. We've got teams from New Minas, Kenville, Yarmouth, Halifax, and if we can get that media out there, we probably could grow this, maybe hopefully to double what it is and make it a really good event and have people from Newfoundland come over, or New Brunswick, PEI, and again, even further out. Maybe some teams from Maine, because we're probably going to be going to Maine next year sometime just to show our face and bring our name there. So maybe somebody might come from Maine one day to the Atlantic.
Rusty Smoke Barbecue is from Ontario, and their pitmaster, Stephen Perrin, sat down with us to chat about his barbecue journey.
It all started back when we opened Rusty's. That was in 2008. I'd never done anything barbecue or anything like that. We took a concept that I saw that I thought looked really cool and jumped headfirst into it. So we bought a smoker from Horizon Grills out in Oklahoma and had it transported up to the village and brought onto our patio. And we'd already written the menu, so I had no choice but to go with it, right? We spent a bunch of money on this thing. It was a really cool offset smoker, and it had, the big firebox, and it really attracted a lot of people, but we had no idea how to use it. So when we competed in a chili championship that they used to have every year in Blue Mountain, and the Rotary Club would put it on, we'd all come out and do chili. Well, we won that contest, which entitled us to go to the World Championship chili competition in Terlingua, Texas. So we went just because we may as well delve right into the heart of what we're doing at this restaurant. So we went down to Terlingua to cook in chili, and they had a barbecue contest as well. Just briefly on the chili, we got disqualified because a Texas chili can only have meat and sauce. There can't be any distinguishing vegetable or carrot or anything like that. They call them floaters. And the first thing the judge does is he stirs the chili to see if there's any floaters. Well, we used a roasted tomato for the tomato sauce. So there was flecks of black. So we were instantly disqualified. They didn't even taste our chili. We were just instantly disqualified. So we traveled. It was I think it was close to 40 hours driving, because right at the Rio Grande, right at the Mexican border. And we drove all the way down there in the middle of the desert. And we got disqualified for the chili. But the flip side of that is we cooked barbecue that we sort of just took a stab at. We didn't know what we were doing, and we ended up with a second place brisket in Texas, second place brisket call, third place chicken, and an eighth place ribs. Wow. And we had no idea really what we were even doing. So that was sort of like the hook to the whole thing. And we came back and we entered a competition in just outside in Clarence, New York, just across the border from us. And we ended up, there was like 59 teams, and we were 59th place. So we went from a high to an extreme low. So it drove me crazy that we were in last place. So we started to pursue it further, and I ended actually hosting a KCBS event in Ontario. It was the first event. There was one prior, but they went bankrupt. And at that time, it was the only KCBS sanctioned contest in Canada. And actually, the Gages, who are here today, they were my reps. And it was a beautiful horse park. It had like rolling hills and just a gorgeous scenery. We had a Rib Fest side of it, and then we had the competitor side, and then we had the chili contest as well. Back to the chili, because it was a good fundraiser for that. It drew a big crowd, and I had 25 teams, and I wasn't allowed to compete in it because I was the organizer. But we had a direct draw ticket right into the Jack Daniels, so the winner of that event went to the Jack, and they qualified for the Royal as well. And it was a big thing. So that's where it started flowing again. So I got to know a couple teams. I got invited to cook on a couple teams, and I cooked with a team called Black Pig for a bit, and went to the Jack as part of a team, and ended up getting a first place call with a perfect score in home cooking from the homeland. And that sort of, again, it hooks me back in again, pulls me back in, and then I started to actively, I said, you know what, I'm tired of doing all the work and not getting any credit for what I'm doing. So then Rusty's, the restaurant that we own, we formed our own team and started pushing. Ended up getting calls, and then it became an addiction. One summer, I think I went 14 times to the east coast of America to compete, like throughout Vermont and Maine and all those places a bunch of times. Drove like 12 to 18 hours each time. This past year, though, there was a hiatus of barbecue contests with COVID and stuff. I came out here last year. We did an amateur one, same place. But we ran it KCBS style in preparation for this year. But this past year, there was no local contests at all. In Ontario, there's one this year, and that's it. So Ontario is dead. BC is alive and thriving. Quebec is alive and thriving. Hopefully Atlantic Canada will get going too, you know. Alberta, there's a lot. BC, there's a lot. I think there's a six in Alberta alone, which is quite a few for Canada, right? There's a couple in like Winnipeg and stuff too. You have to have consistency. You have to be cooking your program the same way every time. And if you're going to change your program, you do small changes so that because you start changing, next thing you know, the whole thing is upside down. And you never change at a contest. You do it on your practice runs. But yeah, like I was saying, we started going down to these contests, and this year in particular, because of the lack of contests, we did some all we've done this year is majors. So we were invited to do the International Hot Wings Championship in Memphis. We went down there, and we ended up, it was two teams. We traveled down together, and we ended up getting a third and a fourth place on the Hot Wings. Then we did Memphis in May, this past May, and we took fifth place in whole hog, which has never been done by an international team.
Now, coming from the USA, Wayne Lohman and his wife Maria, along with Bill and Debbie Gage, were part of the KCBS rep team that helps officiate and train the judging team over the weekend. Craig and Heather Maitons from Ontario rounded out the KCBS team. Wayne's journey with barbecue goes way back to his childhood.
It's Wayne Lohman. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a Kansas City barbecue rep. I'm on the International Kansas City Board of Directors with 4 other members, and we direct all the activity and barbecue outside the borders of the United States. My dad came home from the war and opened a barbecue restaurant. As a young child, I remember standing on top of a counter, a kitchen counter, stirring sauce. So I've been around it all my life. I thought I knew a little bit about barbecue when I was transferred to Memphis, Tennessee, and in 1983 I entered our first contest as a cooking team. And there was 37 teams there, and I thought, well, this will be pretty easy. I think I know a lot about barbecue. At the end of that contest, we finished number 35 out of 37, and I decided that maybe I didn't know so much about barbecue, and decided I wanted to be on the repping side, so where I didn't have to go home after getting kicked in the tail and clean up and spend a lot of money on meat that nobody wanted to eat. So I decided to become a barbecue rep. In 2000, I joined the Kansas City Barbecue Society. We just participated in both of the large U.S. societies, being KCBS and Memphis MA, and then was elected to the board Kansas City in 2004 and served on that board for 12 years. And at that time, it became easy to get involved in. It was something that my wife and I could do together. We were nearing retirement age, and so it was just been the next stepping stone to get involved in getting outside with barbecue being introduced into other countries as American cuisine. There's actually 4 major sanctioning bodies in the United States, a very large contingency in the Texas area where they barbecue there is beef versus the rest of the country that typically thinks of barbecue as pork. Florida has a sanctioning body. Memphis, my hometown, still has its sanctioning body. And then you got KCBS. We're bigger than the other 3 contests only because I think we've just had people had an interest in wherever they were located doing a sanctioning process, and it happened to fit in well with Kansas City. But we promote barbecue of any kind, and it's not always just barbecue. At a lot of our contests, we have ancillary events that involved everything from steaks to burgers to oysters to cocktails, where we all judge under the same type of criteria, but it's all about cooking. Most of it is over a fire as such and heat. So it's something that is just, for some reason, food brings people together, and it gives you a reason to make friends, to have a great time, to share a lot of good stories and fellowship with each other. So I think all the societies pretty well promote each other. We're competitive, just like anybody else, but in the long run, it's all fun, and it's just something good to be part of. Our international group, the 6 of us, had about 87 international contests with about 2,600 members. Today, that 87 is down to 51 contests and about 1,500 members. So we have been completely silent for the past 2.5 years. Domestically in the States, we had about 535 contests. We're just now a little over 400 contests. Our membership is down from 22,000 to about 15,000. So, yes, it has been a huge setback for us. We are a not-for-profit organization, so our membership and our contest is our revenue flow, and it's impacted us greatly. We've been blessed to have a lot of friends in Canada. I think because of being in North America, a lot of Canadian teams come down to the States and vice versa. We did our first contest in Canada back about 2000, and I want to say 7 or 8, and at that time, to us, this is an ideal place. This is a for us a ground of a lot of opportunities, if you will. Met some great cooks, and subsequently we'd see a lot of those cooks at the major contests in the United States, the Jack Daniels World Championship, the World Food Championship, the American Royal, Houston Livestock Show. All of those started attracting international teams, so it gave us a reason to say, let's go in that country, and we were fortunate enough to be invited in. So it's just been a pleasure to come up here and work with the Canadian barbecue teams. We are close with the Canadian Barbecue Society in that we recognize each other. Their points count towards some of the things that we do. So it's a good fellowship and partnership together. Jim is part of the international team. He normally goes first. He and his wife Becky normally go first, and they'll get there and train the judges first because it gives them a chance to practice up their skills. And when they get ready for a contest, then we come along and we school the judges and certify them. So by that time, they've got the organizer has a foundation of judges and cooks and that he can build contests on. Hopefully that contest will go on year after year after year. So when we get there, the cooks have done their job because they're up cooking all night long, and it's hard to cook all night long, then sit through a judging class because they want to hear what we're teaching the judges, that this is what you should look for from that team when they present their entries. And so it just works out better like that. So yes, Jim and Becky are a very intricate part of ours. They go ahead of us, we follow up, and hopefully do our job, and together we bring a sanctioned contest. We're looking to train judges to appreciate what the effort at a cook and the expense and the time that he sat down and spent all night cooking on, working on. I'll remember a very well-known cook in the States said something to me. He said, I've been through culinary school. I can sit down and in 45 minutes I can cook a plate that some people will pay $150 for. But I can take a brisket out there and I can work 16 to 20 hours in that brisket, and I can't find a person to pay $1.25 for a piece of that brisket. So he says, there's a skill level there that you've got to learn to appreciate and to understand, and that's what we hope to accomplish in teaching judges. It's not what the cook cooked, it's what he set out to do. Did he accomplish that purpose? We always like to say, it's not the cooker, it's the cook that achieves the fame, and the one that really puts the time, the sweat, and the effort into it. But I think it's something that you learn to be patient about. It's something low and slow cooking is what it says it is. You're taking a piece of meat and you're infusing a flavor through smoke into the taste of that meat. And it just takes time to do that because you're usually cooking temperature ranges from 225 to 275. If you get good enough and you want to do hot and fast, you go 275 to 300 or plus, whatever it might be. It's a different story, but it takes a skill level to achieve that. And you only get that through the practice and spending a lot of time and studying of it. Some of these teams that do so well, they know how much moisture is in the wood. They know what they know those 26 muscles in a shoulder. They understand and they analyze that. But they've taken the time and the effort, and as a result, that cream rises to the top, and they usually do well. But I think that's it more than anything else. It's just a sport that's fun-loving to achieve, and the patience will get you there. A lot of people look for things a little bit easier. There's a lot of technology and new products that come out today. I can go home and cook a steak and put a little probe in it, and if it's medium rare, that thing will start flashing. It's no longer me probing around with my temperature control or the touch and feel type of thing. But yes, a lot of it does, and I think that happens, and some people do well with that. But I think really the ones that stay around and seemingly do well for a long period of time learn the skill of cooking. And again, that's low and slow type of putting smoke and flavor into a piece of meat. I can remember we've done some unusual things in some unusual places. In southern France, we did a contest in a bull ring where we did some we had the same meats, but being in a bull ring, or in Italy would be in a beautiful castle, or being down in Costa Rica cooking at the embassy down there. I think some of the wildest products that we've ever tasted, and I'm talking about ancillary meats, and water buffalo being one thing, elephant being one thing, things that you normally wouldn't eat that are exotic type of meats, and you don't always know the flavor. Doing an oyster contest in the Gulf of Mexico was a great thrill, because we had all these professional chefs there, and I'll never forget the oyster that won the contest. Was an oyster that had a sliver of a beef tenderloin on top of that, and sprinkled on top of a piece of lobster that had caviar on top of that. And that oyster, I asked the chef, I said, gosh, how much would a dozen of these cost? And he said, no, you don't buy them by the dozen, you buy them by the piece. And he said, you ate one that was worth, just cost $75. And I thought, oh my goodness. All the way to some of the other unusual things that we've done. It's just the food, the sport of food has grown to something that is just a lot of fun, because there's a lot of things out there that people don't think about, and it's just fun to do.
Andre LeBlanc assumed the organizing committee representative duties for the weekend, and he gave us some insight into what the weekend meant to the area and potential plans for next time.
Well, we've had some great support by our Kansas City Barbecue Society reps. Came out to give us a hand to really pull this thing off. To have a sanctioned event in their network is just fantastic for us, and you're absolutely right. After approximately three and a half years of trying to get this underfoot, we're really happy with the turnout. Had some fantastic judges here today, and the teams have really created a sense of camaraderie amongst themselves. There were quite a few teams that came from a couple of different spots, and we've even had one come out from Ontario, so that was fantastic to have somebody out of province. And we look forward to being able to grow some interest in the art of barbecue for competitions to come. Originally, we had a lot of thoughts around what this weekend could look like. We had incorporated in the initial planning a lot of vending going on, so more participation from local individuals, from the residents of the community, so they can come out, experience what it is to see competitive teams really in action, and not get in their feet, because of course this isn't a rib fest. It's a competition, and they're serious about what they do. They spend a lot of money to come out here, and they spend a lot of money on their craft. So yeah, we hope that in the years to come we can maybe coordinate more vending, have some local ancillary competitions with seafood incorporated in it, etc. So yeah, I think there's a lot of evolution that we can hope to see. For the next level, I think what we're looking for is expanding to have teams come from farther away, multiple provinces participating. We did have some judges come in from elsewhere also, so that was fantastic. A few from the U.S., I believe one from New Brunswick. So I think for us, the next steps will be to get the word out there after pulling off a successful event this year. Hopefully we can gather a lot of attention towards a next championship.
Now, before we get into the results, we know that events like this don't happen without volunteers and sponsors, so we wanted to give everyone a chance to chime in on what the topic meant to them.
Oh my gosh, a sponsor is the lifeblood of a contest. An organizer works extremely hard to bring together teams, judges, sponsors, volunteers. You need all of those to make up a contest. It's not all about judges, not all about cooks. It's about a joint effort to bring this about. And sponsors are a little tough on the international side, because very often in a country people don't realize the value of a barbecue contest and what it does. does.
We're thankful to have volunteers, people that really want to help out, make sure that these type of new events happen in the community. It's something new, it's something different, and without volunteers and sponsors, we just wouldn't be able to pull these things off. So, we're very fortunate, and I think people that have come out, volunteered, helped out, any of the sponsors have really found that there is a lot of value in their participation this year.
We want to thank our sponsors. We didn't go get that many sponsors just because we feel like with COVID and stuff and, inflation and stuff that, I didn't really want to bug companies too much. So we actually did a lot of catering as fundraisers to help pay for this. So that's been fun and different. And but, we want to thank, we had like pork farmers and beef farmers of Nova Scotia help out. Chicken farmers of Nova Scotia came yesterday. And the province of Nova Scotia chipped in a bit. So, we want to thank them. This wouldn't have been possible without them. Any event like this, it's impossible without volunteers. We have a board, it's all volunteers. So, we're a small board. We wouldn't have been able to pull this off without, those volunteers.
And now, the results is announced by Andre LeBlanc.
So let's announce the winners for chicken. 5th place, All Sauced Up. 4th place, Rusty's Smoked Barbecue. 3rd place, Hogs Harbor. 2nd place, Barbecue Heaven. And we all want to know who took 1st place. It's Cook the Books. And now for pork ribs. 5th place, the A-Team. 4th place, Cook the Books. 3rd place, Barbecue Heaven. 2nd place, Rusty's Smoked Barbecue. And we all want to know who took 1st place. It's All Sauced Up. And now let's announce the winners of pork shoulder. And remember, there's a special prize for the pork shoulder. So 5th place, Barbecue Heaven. 4th place, Atlantic Q. 3rd place, Hogs Harbor. 2nd place, Rusty's Smoked Barbecue. And as you all know, there's a 6th place winner. We call that the lucky loser here today. And the lucky loser is the A-Team, winning a prize of $240. And now for 1st place, Cook the Books. So now off to brisket. 5th place in brisket, Ye Old Smokers. 4th place, Les Panaho Barbecuers. 3rd place, Rusty's Smoked Barbecue. 2nd place, Cook the Books. And 1st place, in one of the most difficult meats, Hogs Harbor. And now it's time for the overall contest winners. We have 5 prizes this year. So from 5 to 3, come on up and get your picture taken, and then we'll announce the reserve and grand champion. So in 5th place, Ye Old Smokers. In 4th place, Barbecue Heaven. In 3rd place, Hogs Harbor. And now for the reserve champion, 2nd place overall, Rusty's Smoked Barbecue. And the moment we've all been waiting for, the grand champion, 1st place overall, Cook the Books.
Yeah, this is some serious business. This isn't like your backyard barbecue, as you said.
No, it's not. And it has its roots in backyard barbecue. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is where it starts, and then people want to, kind of take it a little further and see what they can do with it. And, at the end of the day, what they're hoping to accomplish, I think, for next time around, I believe Andre said it in his interview, is that, that they're looking to try to make it a little bit more family oriented, like not really a spectator event, because watching a brisket cook for 14 hours is like watching paint dry. It's not really overly exciting.
Not very exciting, that's right.
But certainly, they can do different things, like maybe set up a couple of food tents and then have, people cooking specifically for the public. Now, they did do that, and that was part of out of their fundraising activities. Is
Right.
they did a couple of barbecue events where people would come and they could buy, and that would be the thing. The other side of it, of course, is to have stuff for the kids, because it's a family event. A lot of these folks come down in their trailers. They make it a big weekend, camping event, and bring their kids, and they were having fun. This will be a great event. I think that, with the boat back on, they might be able to get a couple of teams coming in from the U.S. That'll come up. They're going to try to get their name out. They're going to do a bunch of different things. Certainly, our podcast is going to help them be able to draw attention to it. But Wayne and his wife Maria, along with Bill and his wife Debbie, those are the KCBS reps, and it's self-interest for them as well to be able to grow the international portion of the KCBS society in general. So, not only are they looking for members, but they want the competition to hook and to stay in. Other provinces have it, and things are working well, but this is inaugural for Atlantic Canada.
You must have picked up a few tips, did you?
A few, not as many as I was hoping for, but I think part of that was, of course, you're focused on covering the event, and not as much
Exactly.
can be spent on the rest of it. But I think, part of what we want to try to accomplish ahead of next year's event is to put together a bit of a competition, friendly competition.
Yeah.
And so people stay tuned for that. We've got a couple of people in mind for that. I think you'll be excited to listen in and see that. I'm going to try to film it for Eastlink and be able to put it on there, but we'll have it for the podcast as well.
Yes. That's awesome. Quinn, thanks so much for doing that. I know you enjoyed it.
It was a great weekend.
That's super. Can't wait for next year, I bet.
Absolutely. I didn't come back hungry, I'll put it that way.
Awesome. I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this has been Outside My Window.